So we just finished up a video on drawdown. Drawdown is probably one of the most difficult things that traders will go through. It's where a lot of traders are built. But it kind of got me thinking. I've given people plans on how to get out of drawdown, strategic structures, what kind of risks they need to follow. If you're minus 2%, do this. If you're minus 3%, focus on this. Like a bulletproof plan that could essentially get people out of drawdown, but people still fail to fix it. And it just reminds me of the psychological warfare that's going on in people's minds every single day, and they don't want to address it. And me and Ibby was talking about this topic recently. There is almost this constant back and forth of what's more important, psychology, technicals. Is it more technical? Is it more psychology? You could have the best mindset in the world, but if you don't have an edge, then it won't work. I mean, of course, that's just common sense. I agree with that. But there's other parts that I think people don't really understand. Again, we have a psychological program, Rewired, and most people think it's something it's not. So I just want to share a few things, maybe even talk a little bit about drawdown as a few tips here as well, but more so how you should approach being a well-rounded trader, because at the end of the day, you want to be profitable longer term, not just profitable for a little bit. Ibby, what do you think about this? You've been trading for long enough now. It's not really a question as to what comes first, what's more important. Is it 82% psychology? It doesn't matter, like the number doesn't matter. Both of them are important.
Yeah, look, you know what it is, right? As we were speaking about before, it's just common sense. Obviously, you need a system, a strategy that's proven effective, and you need to have a good base there. But if you don't work on that and there's nothing there's no technical base, which is, of course, it's common sense, right? You can have the most robust mind, you're not really going to have an edge in the market. But it works in 3 different mechanisms, as we've spoken about before. So a system with a proven technical edge, number 1, a criteria there that you can follow. But the problem is to follow that criteria effectively, consistently. What do you think you need for that? You need a robust mind. Think about, as you said before, somebody can have a fantastic system, an amazing trading plan, but if they're an emotional wreck or they have really poor money beliefs, it's going to be absolutely pointless.
Yeah, and the thing is, look, I'm not talking about the childhood traumas. I'm not talking about shouting affirmations in the mirror. Like, that's not what that's about. Like, psychology has, I agree, over a period of time been used as almost a bit of a buzzword. It's like, what does that mean when you say work on your psychology? That's like such a broad thing. What I'm talking about when I say psychology, I'm not talking about the whole topic of psychology as to, when you was 4 years old, this happened and now you feel this way. I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about going to therapy, right? I'm talking about a proven formula that reshapes the fabric of your mind that helps you as a trader perform better. Because at the end of the day, all you want to inherit, if you used to ask a trader, what would I like to have? You would say, Mark, Ibby, I just want to be in a position where I can be cool, calm and collected under pressure. When I'm in drawdown, I don't want to turn into a nervous wreck. Go off, of course, not stick to my trading plan, lose all my funded account. I don't want to be anxious while I'm in trades. Like, if you really thought about it, like all of the other stuff, like that's nice to have. But it doesn't matter how good you are. Like, if you become a phenomenal trader, you've got a great technical base, you become really proficient and you do make money, but you have an awful relationship with just money as a whole. So it doesn't matter how much money you make, you spend it. I'll give you a brief story. I had a friend that he got into a sales job, and he started to make more money than what he would normally make. I think he roughly made like £2,000 after tax a month. And he got into a position where he would then make like 3,000, 4,000. What did he do? Instead of being able to save money that he never had, he just spent more of it. So nothing changed. He just increased his lifestyle and thought, well, instead of buying 1 jacket a month or like a new jumper, I'll just buy 3. That just increased because he had a poor relationship with money, because he was used to either having debt around him, and family had a lot of debt as well, and just struggled to be able to keep that money and put it anywhere. So imagine that person becomes a really good trader because they're clued up enough to have a decent technical system and edge, and they've proven to do it. They could make money, still do well, but because of these beliefs, they will sabotage it, and they'll make the wrong decisions.
Well, a classic example of that, I was working with somebody a couple of weeks ago, and for nobody who believes this is proof for you. Somebody who's excellent at following the trading plan. They know everything they need to know about the strategy and system. In fact, proof of that is when you look at their after comments on trades that they've taken, they've literally written down, right, I made this mistake and I knew I was going to make this mistake before I even got into the trade, but I got in anyway. Or if they've made a technical error, they've highlighted the technical error afterwards. If they weren't technically proficient, they would not be able to know.
Wouldn't be able to spot it.
Wouldn't be able to spot it. So why is it that they're not getting the results? So when I spoke with him, check this one, this is funny. He goes to me that every single time before I take this trade, my emotions are high and I'm aware of it, but I can't control myself for some reason. Second part of this, how do you know the trader's issue is technical or if it's a psychological problem, right? So they might have got into drawdown because of a technical reason. It might be, for example, they misunderstood the time frame usage. It might be, for example, they misunderstood where to position their trades or the risk on the trade. It could be anything. There's a very simple way to highlight the difference between if it's a technical issue or it's a psychological problem. Now you see when people, like you just said, psychology is a very, very broad term. It could be a mixture of different things. When someone sat down with a student, for example, I've sat down with them and I've been through that phase, I can highlight for them without them having to spend a year, 2 years trying to figure it out. I can highlight for them, right? This is what the issue is. You can microanalyze it and it's very simple. So did they get into drawdown psychologically or technically? How do you know? After comments, as I said before. So they would get into a trade, they would make an error, but they would still take the trade regardless, knowing that error has been made. So that tells me, right, they don't have a technical deficiency. There's something in their mind that's pushing them to take that trade. So what's their threshold like? So for example, if they've lost 2 or 3 trades, which you'll find is a pattern for these people, or they might have missed a few positions, that would have been the threshold being crossed, by which now logical thinking is overridden, and now emotional thinking takes over. So how do you then say to somebody, oh, just focus on your psychology later on, when that pattern might marinate for a long period of time, and then by the time they come on to work on it, it's much harder to unwire at that stage.
It's almost like an infection going untreated.
Correct, yeah.
If you deal with it early on, you'll be able to catch it. Mm-hmm. You thinking that you can just operate and it's fine, I'll cross that bridge when it comes to it. Well, guess what? That bridge will be very large. At the moment, it's just a tiny little bridge. And before you know it, it's Golden Gate Bridge. Yeah. Right? So you don't want these things to go untreated. It's just not attractive to focus on it there and then. In any other industry, you would understand, in order for me to be proficient in my job, whether it's sport, whether it's you being an engineer, whatever it is, the best people in their field of work are the ones that are good at dealing with pressure. Now think about even a manager. Why would someone be in management? They would be in management because they're good at managing people. When there's a lot of stress around, what do? They're the one that people go to because this person can get everything under control and they can deal with the chaos. Yeah. You could go in any industry whatsoever. Think about a top football manager. Mm-hmm. It's the person who can control the dressing room. It's when they're losing, they're down. They can see that the players are really emotional and they need to help them self-regulate. Yeah. So we understand this and just accept it. Any industry, that's good. Yeah, I need to work on both. I need to be skilled and I need to have a composed mind. Yeah. That goes hand in hand. In trading, it's this war on which is first. Who cares what is first? Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter. It's not important. Fuse both together, have a proven system. Yeah. I don't think many people are out there thinking that you can have an incredible mind, because people ask me this all the time. They say, Mark, there's no point just working on your psychology if you don't have a proven system. Correct, yeah. Who are you talking to exactly? Like, what people are you speaking to that are of the opinion that you should have a system that is not proven? Yeah. It makes no sense whatsoever. So I get it. Yes, I understand, but that's just common sense. Find a system. I'm not talking to those people. I'm talking to the people that have the proven system, have a proven edge, learning from someone who is profitable, learning from someone who has taught other people that have become profitable. Yeah. So you can see people are making money with this system and doing very well and scaling up. Those people have a good understanding. They're not just in it for 3 months. Maybe I'm a little bit biased, but I've taught over 11,000 people over the past 7 years or more. Yeah. And most of these traders don't come to me and say, Mark, the reason why I'm losing is because of my psychology. Oh, very rare. That's the irony. That's like someone who is self-aware is already focusing on their psychology. Yeah. So it wouldn't make sense. No. Because what you're relying on, you're basically saying that these traders that are going to, right, I'm losing money, it's because of my psychology. Yeah. You've basically said that person's self-aware enough to realise that their mistakes are psychological and not technical. Yeah. So unless I've just happened to have come across 11,000 students and 95% of them generally blame their technicals, then that would be a little bit strange. But I'm not under the impression, like no one has ever come to me and said, you know what, Mark, I've been learning this system for 7 months, but I don't think I'm getting ahead because my psychological framework is just not in place. I'm emotional. You're basically telling that person's telling you they're self-aware to realise their issues. which most people are not, which is why they need the psychological framework in the first place.
Yeah.
So once you've got that, I'm speaking to that trader, competent, around people making money with a system. The system is good.
Yeah.
Forget about, without a proven edge. The proven edge is there now.
Yeah.
Those people that are going round and round in circles, why do they not perform?
How many times have you heard people say, just stick at the system and time will fix it? There's certain things that time doesn't fix. Like if you're approaching the markets in a way where you might have a proven technical edge, great, but you've got negative psychological patterns that you're not aware of, like you're a very hyper addictive person, for example, that
Addictive
personalities, which most people have, right? You're an impulsive person and you're very like held back, reluctant, hesitant, timid person. You let those things marinate, guess what's going to happen? You might build more experience, but you're building more experience in the wrong way. So certain things don't fix with time. You know, this idea of you'll get more confident the more losses you take. It can actually go the other way around. I've seen it. I've worked with traders who are damaged, as you've seen yourself. Damaged traders who've now got these neural pathways that have formed because of broken methods of trading or a broken way of approaching the markets. Their winning and losing beliefs have been shaped in such a way that they think, right, if I'm up 4 or 5%, this means X. If I'm down minus 5%, this means Y, etc. It doesn't always work that way.
Exactly. And listen, there are people that are of the opposite opinion where they don't think psychology is important. Fine. If someone wants to stand by their belief, they can stand by their belief. It's not my job to convince them otherwise. What I will agree with in the regards that if someone does come to me, you, anyone and says, look, the reason why I'm not successful is because, you know, my psychology, they're 3 months in blaming their emotions. Yeah, they probably shouldn't do that because it's impossible for you to have, and you might not even have an edge at that point. So yes, there is going to be a smaller percentage of people that are blaming their tools, blaming their system, and quite frankly, they're just not good enough at trading. And they want to use psychology as an excuse as to why they're not profitable. I'm sure there is a group of those people, they probably do exist, but more often than not, traders work on their technicals for years and years, and they're around people that are making money with that system, yet they've not made money with that system. And when you actually look at the way they analyze, the way they structure it, like these are not people that like have got no idea. These are clued up, switched on traders that have a very good enough understanding, in my opinion, to be profitable. They might not be the finished article, but they're enough to know how to make money consistently enough, but yet they're not. And if you look at prop firms taught us everything we need to know. Even people that made record payouts of 30K, 40K, 50K, you name it, 60 days later, their account's gone.
Giving it all back.
And if you look at all you have to do is like an equity curve, it teaches you about it. You can see patterns in people's trading. Let's say you take all these people that lost those accounts. You can tell just from the risk sizing, the positioning of the trade, if you looked at and studied all of it, which that'd actually be a really interesting subject to look at. I don't know how we would get all of that data, but you can almost tell within a high degree of certainty that it was emotionally driven. So then you have to then stand by the fact that, say there was 200 of those people that have made payout, done really well, got their accounts, but then given it all back. So are we saying like 98% of them? Are we saying, let's say out of 200, 194 of them all have just lost their accounts sequentially? Because you can do that. You can be a great trader and just unfortunate. You might have kept that account for a year and whatever reason, you just hit a whole streak of losses, you lost it. It's not your fault, you know, that is part of trading. But all of them couldn't just be in a bad sequence because they all traded different strategies. So that doesn't make sense. That's the part that's a bit strange.
And anybody telling you that trading psychology is about visualizing all day long or meditating all day long, these kind of things, it's not true. There's not one trace of yourself, me, Abdu, in any situation. If a trader comes to us and says, look, we're struggling executing on a trade, or we're really hesitant, that we've told them to go take a cold shower or to meditate about them being an effective trader. We've never once said that to anybody. So there's this notion, and I'll tell you where this notion comes from. It comes from people not having a deeper understanding of what trading psychology is actually about. You know, in fact, you actually make a joke of this on webinars sometimes that, guys, I'm not telling you to go and study your neocortex, right? You said that loads of times because it's true, we don't. All you've got to understand is what category of trader do you fit into? Do you jump the gun a lot? Do you find you stay back from trades? Like, it's a very black and white binary analysis that you can do on yourself. Once you've got that, then you work your way backwards, you reverse engineer it. All the modules in Rewired that you've laid down. And hardly any of it, you go too deep into the science of it. You talk about it logically from a trader's perspective, from a trader's experience. There's trading psychologists out there, and I've really studied their work. Like I can sit down with anybody and challenge them on this. I've really studied their work on it. Tons and tons of study material. And I'll tell you what, 98% of it is absolutely irrelevant.
You know, you just reminded me of something as to why I've been so passionate about this subject,
Yeah.
as to why I know it can take people to the next level. I've come from humble beginnings, so essentially nothing. Unless you've come from nothing and you know what it's like to not have anything, and I mean like barely nothing, where your parents are worried about putting food on the table, like that type of level, right? There's always going to be worse, there's always going to be more. Unless you've been able to take yourself out of that situation, like get yourself out the dirt, grab it by the scruff of the neck, where all of the odds are stacked against you, where you shouldn't be successful, and normally you wouldn't get out of that position, you don't know what it takes, and the framework and the psychological issues that people go through, the self-doubt, the lack of belief, and the constant issues that keep people making the same destructive behavior, which is why they lose money. So even when they do get to an element of profitability with a proven edge, they just give it all back anyway.
Correct.
And they sit there thinking, if only I knew more about the markets, I'd be successful. False. That's what the world wants you to believe.
Yeah.
But the reality is, there are people with less technical knowledge than you, competent mind, make loads of money, and you don't. They're laughing at you. That's how you should see it. There's people out there with 25% of your knowledge laughing at you, making money because they've understood one key principle, that without the ability to calm yourself down in the right moments, you will keep making mistakes. So I'm going to give you a really simple solution. Forget this bullshit of what is more important. Why are you not doing both? Let me know in the comments. Let me know how much money you've lost in challenges, how much money you've paid in challenges, and how much payout you've made, right? And how much money that I could have saved you from making poor quality decisions. It's why I always talk about things like, if you're someone who is looking at funding as, right, this heroic story, I've done 25 challenges and on the 26th, I made 20K and I made all my money back. Yeah, it's a very heroic story, but 0.01% of people pull that off. So why would you go with those odds? So what you've got to look at is that what is the psychological damage to that individual that is really comfortable losing account after account after account? Do you really think that trade is going to be good in drawdown? No, they're going to over risk and hope that the one trade gets them out of it. And guess what? Sometimes it does happen with them. So I'm speaking to the person who wants to take it seriously and that you want to be a well-rounded trader. Just do both. What excuse do you have to not work on your technicals and psychology? Why would you not want to be the most technically skilled, switched on with a proven system that you could be, but with also a competent mind? That's just strange to me. So call me crazy for wanting both to fuse together, but if you want consistency longer term, then there you go. It's a very simple formula. You're going to have to address it at some point. Just don't let these things go untreated when at a later stage is a much bigger mountain to climb.